What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 10 of our Texas Rangers franchise. Today is the finale of the 2019 offseason as we head into year 2020. Looking at some trade suggestions for Edinson Volquez. He's a 73 overall, 36 years old, and this one struck me really good. I like this trade. Victor Mesa Jr., 19 years old, 57 overall, see potential. I'm not expecting a whole lot from him in this crowded minor league outfield, but he is 19 years old. And to me, it's worth a shot getting rid of a player like Volquez for a guy like Victor Mesa Jr. Now, that's not Victor Mesa, who's like the better one of the two. That's Victor Mesa Jr. He's definitely the younger one. I think Victor is like 23. I think he's more of the highly regarded prospect, but there you go. So Victor Mesa Jr., hopefully he can do some good things down in the minor leagues. Just showing you guys the differences right here between going with arbitration, what that might cost, and what we're looking at if we just go ahead and sign some of these players to longer term deals. And you can see Cody Anderson, I'm thinking like, why not? He's 29 years old. Might as well lock him up for a few more seasons, pay a little bit extra. At least you get him here. At least you're grabbing him for a longer term. And we're going to go ahead also and extend Chris Martin. You guys saw it right there up on the screen. If you wanted to do arbitration, you would have had to pay him more than $2.2 million. And just looking at this contract that we're going to offer him, he's getting $533,000 per year. So that seems like a huge variance. And so we're going to save a lot of money on Chris Martin. Luckily, though, we're able to get him. So he will end up signing, just to let you guys know. And looking at Delino DeShields Jr., we could offer him arbitration, we could make him a deal, but it looks like the type of deal that he wants is going to be way too expensive for the type of player that he is, in my mind. Is more of a defensive guy. Definitely got a lot of speed, going to be a threat on the base path, but not a very good offensive threat. So I offered him arbitration. We're looking about 2.8, 2.6 is where I'm at with him. We'll see how that goes, but I'm not expecting to win that case because we did kind of lowball him a little bit, but we'll see. Looking at the offers that have been updated right there, you guys saw it up on the screen. We're looking at 3 players: Oswaldo Batista, Nelson Cruz, and Chris Owings. Haven't signed them yet. Didn't go after Zach Wheeler, and the reason for this is because look at the walk totals. He had almost 100 walks. That's a lot. And it's always kind of been Zach Wheeler's issue. It's always been kind of Zach Wheeler's issue from the very start of his Mets career. It's been kind of that up and down type of deal. Looking at Colin McHugh, could go after him as a right-hander. And then there were some suggestions about Hyun-Jin Ryu. Looking at his numbers, his first 2 seasons in LA were really good. 14-8, 14-7, pretty identical. And then he kind of had that injury bug. He's kind of worked himself back, and then even in real life, he's pitching really well now. And so I'm considering it. But when we look at Zach Wheeler, he's looking to be a contender. $9.9 million per year. That's a lot of freaking money. And then when we look at Hyun-Jin Ryu, we're gonna have to kind of overpay for him to bring him to Texas. Will it pay off? I don't know. He's getting a little up there in the age department, so I'm not too sure about that one. Jake Odorizzi is available. He doesn't really do a whole lot for me, but he's cheap. And then Kyle Gibson's kind of intriguing to me. He does have a nice mix of pitches there: 2-seamer, 4-seamer, change, slider, curve. He's got it all. And so it seems like he's young enough. We can offer him a 3-year deal. He hit that age 35 type of thing. And and be a good pitcher for us and be a solid pitcher for us. But looking at his contract compared to Hyun-Jin Ryu's, we're going to be paying him about 5.3 plus in order to bring him here. It's not so much of a difference, but I'm not even going to attempt to go after Hyun-Jin Ryu. I hope that Kyle Gibson signs with us, and we'll go from there. We did offer Aaron Loop a contract. We're also looking at Austin Romine as well as Martin Maldonado at catcher. Yan Gomes at catcher. He can play first base as well, and that might be a nice option behind Ronald Guzman. And just looking at the payment per year, is really what I'm looking at. And Brian McCann was talked about, but he's looking like he wants to go to a contender. Same thing with Jonathan Lucroy. Tyler Flowers is kind of the same deal. But then we look at Jason Castro, and he's only asking for 4.4, which to me is a little expensive for a guy like Jason Castro. And then when we go back and we look at Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's numbers, they aren't really that bad. I thought they were actually worse than they are. If we're going to go after a guy that's going to replace him, then we need a guy like Austin Romine. So we will be offering a contract to Austin Romine, and then hopefully he goes and takes that. Saw Bud Scott, fan favorite from the live stream. We're going to take a chance on him, and we're also going to go after Yoenis Cespedes' brother. So we're going to go after him, and here are our contract offers here up on the screen. Bautista, Loop, Owings, Romine, and then we got this guy, Raul Alcantara, excuse me. He's got that A potential of 61 overall. So maybe we can grab him. Maybe not. We'll have to see. Carlos Tachi, like I said in the live stream, not big on him, so we ended up letting him go. And we actually have to make room for all these guys that are actually going to be coming onto the Rangers roster. So that's something that we got to consider too, is that once we're bringing in all these guys in, you can only fill out a 90-man roster. So you got to make some room somewhere. So we ended up having to release him. The Braves were actually in on Austin Romine as well, and they're actually going to go ahead and sign him. So we did not get Austin Romine. That leaves catcher wide open. It's going to be Trevino and Kiner-Falefa going to be managing catcher, since honestly the guys that are available are either really old or they're just guys that aren't going to be good fits for our team. Austin Romine was kind of like my guy after doing more extensive research. And like I just talked about, you want to be able to sign the other players that you have outstanding offers for, and we can't do that unless we're under the 90-man roster cap. So I'm getting rid of older guys like Tim Dillard, Matt Bush, also getting rid of guys like Brady Fagel. So it's just not really, I'm not feeling those guys, and I don't see how they fit with us. And then just again, looking at the catcher position here, Kiner-Falefa's got a 79 vision, which is kind of on par with Jonathan Lucroy at an 81. And then looking at his defense, it seems like with his arm strength and his fielding, he seems to be like right there. Contact numbers for Kiner-Falefa are a little bit better than some of these guys that are available. The power numbers, not so much. It's pretty much that McCann and Gomes have that on Falefa for sure. And then when we look at Robinson Chirinos right there, he's definitely got more power. And it just seems like Falefa is not going to be the best hitter, but defensively he's going to be solid enough to get us through. So I think we're just going to stick with those two guys, Trevino and Kiner-Falefa, to be our 1-2 punch at catcher. Hopefully it works out. I know that we were talking about catcher extensively in order to get that position locked up, but again, just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense for us. But we did end up signing Kyle Gibson. Chris Owings is signed as well. We're just waiting on one guy, and that guy is Nelson Cruz. Come on, baby. Sign with us. Come on. Marcell Ozuna going to go to the A's, and that means the other outfielder, probably the next best outfielder available, wasn't going to go to another team. So he was like, you know what? I can't weigh my options anymore. Let's go ahead and sign with Texas and go back. Go back to Texas and be a part of this rebuild. And, it's only a 1-year deal. It's only a 1-year deal. So hopefully he can give us some nice power off of the DH spot. And then if we don't have a good year, we can just flip him for some prospects and get some benefit out of having him on our team this season. So we'll see what happens, but I'm looking for good things. Here's a free agency recap real quick. Mike Moustakas going to the Cubs. Saw Zach Wheeler going to the Mariners. Getting another little update with catcher. I'm really hitting this catcher thing hard. And look at Reese McGuire. Player down here, bats left-handed, 25 years old, played for the Blue Jays organization, B potential. Seems like a guy that would fit with us, right? Pedro Severino would kind of fit too. Look at that defense. Look at those defensive numbers, man. He's a really good defensive guy. 26 years old. He's a 70, so he's already a little bit better than Falefa and Trevino. But this is the guy that I'm going to go after. Mibris Valoria, 67 overall, B potential. He does hit left-handed. He's a little small, 5'11", but he's a pretty good player. I did some research on him, looking him up on YouTube, and he's got a pretty good swing. Played in some all-star games down in the minor leagues. He's a pretty solid player. And, being that young at 23, he's going to challenge Trevino and Kiner Falefa for that starting job at catcher at some point in time in his career. So we'll see how he does. He's in the AAA level right now. And then we're also going to go after Cheslor Cuthbert, another Kansas City Royal, or former Royal, at least here in this franchise, to play third base at the AAA level and some backup first base behind Nathaniel Lowe, one of our first basemen that we traded for from the Tampa Bay Rays organization earlier last season. Actually, not earlier last season, but during the trade deadline. So I like our first base depth in the minor league system. I think we're going to be a pretty solid minor league system all throughout. AAA, AA, single, you name it. So here we are at the Rule 5 draft, and look at all the players that are available. Like, holy cow, there's some good players here, but here's the caveat. Any player you take in a Rule 5, they have to stick with your major league team for the entirety of the season. If they're not, then they're going to go right back to the team that put them into the Rule 5. And honestly, when you're looking at these positions that are available, it seems to me like we've pretty much got every position filled except for starting pitching and relief pitching. Because looking at the guys that are available, I love the potentials. I love what I'm looking at there. Guys like Sherman Johnson. I mean, not Sherman Johnson, 29 years old, but more like, let's see, not even Dixon Machado, but Kyle Seager's in there. A guy like that. You'd look at him and you'd be like, Kyle Seager, like, okay, come on over to play for Texas because we need a third baseman. Christian Arroyo, 24 years old, A potential. He's a guy that I would love to bring over. But if you draft him, he's got to stay on your big league club. And honestly, there's really no room for him. I love the potential. I love it. I wanted to pull the trigger on a guy like that. But it's not within the best interest of our club in order to do that. I'm looking at starting pitching and relief pitching. The guy I keep going back to here is Tanner Scott, 25-year-old, B potential, 78 overall, 99 K per nine, and velocity. That's some legit stuff, right? But looking at the best player that's available here, we could have gone with Senzatela, but I'm looking at Mike Morin, 74 overall. He does have that C potential. And then I keep going back to Scott. Like, which one is it going to be? Is it going to be Morin or is it going to be Scott? He's 3 years younger than Mike Morin, but I think the right thing to do here is to go after Mike Morin. The control is above in the 70s. The walks per nine is very solid with Morin as well versus what Tanner Scott's got in his repertoire. Not the best guy for control. He's got a lot of walks that kind of plague him. So Mike Morin is going to step in and be that next right-hander in the bullpen. And because we drafted Mike Morin down here in Texas, we're going to have to move down Rafael Montero. It sucks, but he's kind of the odd man out. I kind of trust Chase Anderson a little bit more, or Cody Anderson, more so than Rafael Montero. Just kind of the way that it works right now. We'll see how Montero does down in AAA and see if he can prove himself yet again as to if he belongs in the major league system. So, but look at that bullpen now. We got Chris Martin, Chris Rusin, Mike Morin, Aaron Loop. It's pretty solid as it is right now. And then looking at catcher, we got Falefa, Trevino. It's going to be the 1-2 punch at catcher this season. Joey Gallo will be playing left field, not first base. We do have Ronald Guzman at first, Fuentes Wisdom at third base, Elvis Andrews, left field again is Gallo, DeShields in center. Chris Owings is going to be that utility man all over the field this season. And then we've got Mazzara and right, Calhoun at backup right, and Cruz at designated hitter. So there is the budget real quick. Just a quick snapshot. We're paying a lot of money this season because everybody seems to be tied up. The next season there will be some turnover there as we do lose a little bit more contract, and we'll go from there. But I think we're in a pretty good spot here for this Texas Rangers franchise. I really do. I think we've done a really good job so far with getting the minor league system rebuilt. And just overall, I think we stuck to a plan, which is the biggest thing. We set out in the free agent period and we said, here's the positions that we want. Here are the type of players that we want to bring in. And we did that. We stuck to it. We got more depth in the minor league system as well. I think that we're in a pretty solid position. I ended up signing Brandon Compton to a 1-year deal. Try to create some trade value. It's kind of a gamble type of move. He's going to be a AA type of pitcher, and we ended up moving down another player that was Jonathan Hernandez to single A, and then maybe Brandon Compton can kind of lift himself up to be that kind of 72, 73-ish type of player, and maybe we can get him into a spot start in September, see what we got there. Maybe he's just a AAA type of pitcher. Maybe he can turn into what Luke Farrell was supposed to be, and that's a guy that I ended up trading as well in the trade deadline of last year. So maybe that's the type of guy. I know he's a little bit older, but I think maybe if we can get a good performance out of him, he can shoot that overall up a little bit, maybe get some trade value out of him. We'll just see. We'll see what happens. So leave a like, guys, if you like this episode, and if you agree with some of the things that I did. If you didn't, don't leave a dislike. Just explain why. Why didn't you like my stuff? Why didn't you like what I did? We'll see what happens. Guys, we'll see you in the next one. Thank you to everybody in the live stream as well that we had on Thursday night for your input, and especially shout out, thanks to Paco. Congratulations for winning, obviously, the contest for the postseason playoff bracket, and then being able to get yourself involved in the offseason decisions and moves. You definitely played a part in my thought process and how I wanted to go about building this team. I know we didn't sign every single one of your guys that you wanted, but at the very least, it kind of helped me go about how to think about what we want to do. And, more opinions, the better, right? So that's my take. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and enjoyed the off season, both episodes, live stream and today. And then I will see you guys on Thursday for a little bit spring training action. We won't do the full spring training, obviously, because I want to get 2020 started. But we'll go into the spring training. We'll focus on some players that that are the newbies. We'll highlight some of the quick highlights of these games. Probably do 2 or 3 games, and then just go from there. A lot of the starting pitching that we got to focus on too, from guys that we give the spring training invite to. So we'll see what happens. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, peace.